Vanda. Vanda, abbreviated in the horticultural trade as V, is a genus in the orchid family Orchidaceae. There are about 80 species, and the genus is commonly cultivated for the marketplace. This genus and its allies are considered to be among the most specifically adapted of all orchids within the Orchidaceae. The genus is highly prized in horticulture for its showy, fragrant, long-lasting, and intensely colorful flowers. Vanda species are widespread across East Asia, Southeast Asia, and New Guinea, with a few species extending into Queensland and some of the islands of the Western Pacific. Biology. The name Vanda is derived from the Sanskrit Vyandaka name for the species Vanda roxburghii, a synonym of Vanda tessellata. These mostly epiphytic, but sometimes lithophytic or terrestrial orchids, are distributed in India, Himalaya, Southeast Asia, Indonesia, the Philippines, New Guinea, southern China, and northern Australia. The genus has a monopodial growth habit with highly variable leaves according to habitat. Some have flat, typically broad ovoid leaves, strap leaves, while others have cylindrical terete, fleshy leaves and are adapted to dry periods. The stems of these orchids vary considerably in size. Some are miniature plants and some have a length of several meters. The plants can become quite massive in habitat and in cultivation, and epiphytic species possess very large, rambling aerial root systems. The few to many flattened flowers grow on a lateral inflorescence. Most show a yellow-brown color with brown markings, but they also appear in white, green, orange, red, and burgundy shades. The lip has a small spur. Vanda species usually bloom every few months, and the flowers last for 2 to 3 weeks. Many Vanda orchids, especially V. coeruleum, are endangered and have never been common because they are usually only infrequently encountered in habitat and grow only in disturbed forest areas with high light levels, and are severely threatened and vulnerable to habitat destruction. The export of wild collected specimens of the blue orchid V. coeruleum and other wild Vanda species is prohibited worldwide, as all orchids are listed on Appendix Roman II of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. Cultivation. This genus is one of the 5 most horticulturally important orchid genera because it has some of the most magnificent flowers to be found in the orchid family. This has contributed much to the work of hybridists producing flowers for the cut flower market. V. coeruleum is one of the few botanical orchids which can produce varieties with blue flowers, actually a very bluish purple, a property much appreciated for producing interspecific and intergeneric hybrids. The color blue is rare among orchids, and only Philometra crinita, a terrestrial species from Australia, produces flowers that are truly blue among the orchids, the other being Agoniaceae, a lowland species from northern South America that is difficult to cultivate but has metallic blue flowers. Both of these species, much like Vanda, also have a bluish-purple tint towards the inner petals of the flowers. Vandadirae is one of the chief sources of yellow color in Vanda hybrids. Papilliana misjoquum, a terrestrial Vanda variety and natural hybrid with terete cylindrical leaves, now recognized as a Papilliana hybrid between Pl. Tears and Pl. Acuriana is the national flower of Singapore. The plants do not possess pseudobulbs, but do possess leathery, drought-resistant leaves. Almost all of the species in this genus are very large epiphytes found in disturbed areas and habitat, and prefer very high light levels, the plants having large root systems. Some of these species have a monopodial vine-like growth habit, and the plants can quickly become quite massive. These plants prefer consistent conditions day to day in cultivation to avoid dropping their bottom leaves. The epiphytic species are best accommodated in large wooden baskets, bare rooted, which allows for the large aerial root systems. Disturbing or damaging the roots of large, mature vandaceous orchid plants, and in particular Vanda and Aroides species, can result in the plants failing to flower and going into decline for a season or more. These plants do not tolerate disturbance or damage of their root systems in cultivation when they become mature. The terete-leaved terrestrial species are very easy to cultivate. When grown bare-rooted, the epiphytic species require daily watering and weekly feeding and are very heavy feeders in cultivation. They can be grown out of doors in Hawaii and the like provided they are given some shade. Systematics. In a recent molecular study of the genus Vanda, several genera including the former genus Ascocentrum, Neophynetia, and Yuan were brought into synonym with Vanda. Species. The following is a list of Vanda species recognized by the World Checklist of Selected Plant Families as of January 2019. Natural hybrids. Vanda x Vamani v. insignis x v. limbata lesser sunda is. Vanda x Charlesworthiae v. Vansonia x v. Coeruleum Myanmar. Vanda x confusa v. Coerulescens x v. Lillicina Myanmar. Intergeneric hybrids. The following is a list of hybrid genera Gnathogenera in which hybrids Vandas with orchids of other genera are placed, although many of these are invalid because of recent taxonomic changes. For instance, Ascocenta Ascocentrum x Vanda and Vanda Phoenicia Vanda x Neophynetia are no longer valid because both Ascocentrum and Neophynetia have been reduced to synonyms of Vanda by RHS, which is in charge of the International Orchid Register.